So if we are finding all 6 trig ratios in the unit circle, this should be fairly easy because we know how to find those 3 trig ratios. So what do we do for the other ones?
Reciprocate.
We reciprocate them. So if I'm asking for the cosine of pi over 6, that's something that should be memorized. Pi over 6, what's the cosine? Root 3 over 2. So that's a first quadrant angle, yes?
Yes.
So it should be positive. So that's my angle. Okay. What about the tangent of 7 pi over 6? Well, I need to identify first off if the tangent is going to be positive or negative. All students talk. It's going to be positive. Yeah. What's the reference angle?
Pi over 6.
So what's the tangent of pi over 6?
Root 3 over 2.
You either have it memorized. Nope. Tangent of pi over 6 is sine over cosine.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Does anyone remember what that simplifies to?
Rad 3. Wait, is it rad 3?
Rad 3 over 3. Because remember, you have to do 1/2 divided by rad 3 over 2. So you change it to 1/2 times 2 over root 3. Remember this? You get 1 over root 3.
Yeah, bruh.
Is this familiar to you?
Sure enough.
Okay. So my tangent is root 3 over 3. Easy peasy.
Easy breezy, beautiful cover.
All right. Cosecant. What is cosecant the reciprocal of?
Cosine.
Nope.
Sine.
Sine.
Sine. So I'm going to start off by finding the sine of 315 degrees. And then I'm going to take the reciprocal. So is 315 on the unit circle?
No. Yes.
Yep. What's the sine of it?
Negative.
Negative.
Rad 2 over 6.
Negative root 2 over 2.
I know this shit.
So how do I find the cosecant?
Shoot.
You just flip it.
You just, yeah.
Reciprocal.
By the way, it is negative. Why is it negative? Because so cosine is the only thing positive. That means sine and cosecant are both negative. I think I talked about that yesterday, right? That if sine is positive in a quadrant, cosecant is also sine. It follows the reciprocal.
Okay.
Okay? So when I say all in first quadrant, yes, all of them are positive, all 6. When I say students, that means sine and cosecant are positive. T, tangent and cotangent are positive. C, cosine and secant are both positive. All right? So, I know that's going to be negative. I need to multiply by
Negative.
root 2 over root 2. That gives me 2 root 2 over 2, which gives me what?
Negative.
So the cosecant of 315 is negative root 2. Makes sense after yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit.
Wait. So can the thought process is that you know that you have 315, so then you turn that, you use the reference angle, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you can use the reference angle.
And then after you use the reference angle, then what?
Identify if it's positive or negative based
Yeah.
on the quadrant.
It's gonna be positive.
Nope. Nope. This is cosine. That means sine is negative. If sine is negative, the reciprocal of sine is also negative. Okay? Now, 315, because it's on your unit circle, you don't have to use your reference angle. You can, the reference angle would be 45 degrees, right? So you can, but if it's directly on here, the sign automatically is negative if you just look at the coordinate. Okay? All right, let's turn the page.
What's the point of the cosecant, secant, and...
They're the reciprocal functions. All right, why don't you take a minute and see if you can figure out these guys.
That.
Okay? Given what we've done, see if you can figure out these guys.
3.
All right, the secant. Secant is the reciprocal of what?
Cosine.
Cosine. So I need to find the cosine of 420 degrees, and then I need to reciprocate it, right? Well, let's think about this. 360, and I don't want to get up to the next 90 degrees, do I? Because the next 90 degrees would be 450, so I'm going to stop 30 degrees before 450, yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so what's my reference angle?
7 pi over 3.
60 degrees. Why are we talking about pies?
I'm sorry. No, I was.
Okay, so I have 60 degrees as my reference angle. I'm in the first quadrant, so everything is positive. The cosine of that angle would be 1/2.
Oops.
So what's the secant? 2. Easy peasy.
No, Franken. I did. Never mind.
Okay, cotangent of -5 pi over 2. I love the pi over 2's because what are those? Quadrantal angles. So, I'll just do it here. This, if I'm going in the negative direction, this is -1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2. That's it.
That's it.
I know this point is 0, -1, right?
Yeah.
Cotangent, okay, tangent is -1 over 0, which is undefined, yes?
Yeah.
What is cotangent?
1. -1.
0 over -1, which is 0.
Oh, 0.
The reciprocal of undefined is 0. What's the reciprocal of 0?
-1.
Undefined.
Undefined. Oh, because you can't have anything over
You
here.
can't have a 0 on the bottom. So if I did the tangent of 3 pi over 2, this is very similar. This is positive, but 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. Again, it's that same thing, that 0, -1. Tangent is sine over cosine. What is it?
1. No. Undefined. Guys,
Can't have a 0 on the bottom. Okay?
Wait, don't you? Oh, wait, never mind.
All right. Last problemo. It says find all 6 trig ratios. So I'm going to set up my answer blanks here. Ready?
No. Wait, why again?
Why what?
Oh, wait, no, never mind. You're looking for
Sine theta, cosine theta, tangent theta, and the reciprocal of sine is cosecant theta, secant theta, and then cotangent theta. And again, I always do that order so that way I know once I get this one, I just do the reciprocal for this one. Okay? All right. What quadrant are we talking about?
the
Quadrant 2. So if I think about my all students
Sines.
talk crap, sine is positive, which means cosecant is also positive. Cosine, secant, tangent, cotangent, all negative.
Wait, can you explain how you got that again? Like how you know which ones are positive and which ones are
Okay, we're good with the ASTC, right?
Yeah.
The all students talk
Oh,
crap.
so that-
If we are in quadrant 2, that means sine is positive, which means its reciprocal is also positive. So sine and cosecant would be positive. Everything else is negative.
Because they don't all fall into the 8.
Because only in this quadrant, only sine is positive.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Next thing I need to do is I need to identify the reference angle. So let's think about this for a minute. If I do 1 revolution, that's 360, right? Another revolution is another 360 plus another 90 plus another 90. Do you see how I was kind of highlighting as I go? Where am I at this point?
You're at some point. I got you, Frank.
360 plus 360 plus 90 plus 90. I'm at 900 degrees. This is 960, so what is that reference angle? 60 degrees. Yeah? So, at this point, I already have my negatives figured out. I just go to 60 degrees. Cosine is 1/2. Sine is root 3 over 2. And from there, I should be able to figure out the rest. What's the reciprocal of 1/2? 2. Reciprocal of root 3 over 2 would be 2 over root 3.
It's root 3. No, wait, it's 2 root 3.
Wait, root 3 over 2, right?
It's 2 root 3 over 3. Tangent would be sine over, and I like doing the over like this, or divided by cosine, which means you're going to take root 3 over 2 and you are going to multiply it by the reciprocal,
It's negative.
which gives you root 3. So tangent is negative root 3. And then what's the reciprocal of root 3? Wouldn't it be 1 over root 3? Rationalize that denominator.
Root 3 over 3.
You get root 3 over 3. So cotangent is negative root 3 over 3.
Alright, this is easy. Sorry.
It's not bad if you understood how to do it with plane sine, cosine, tangent. Yeah? Yes.
Why didn't you use 30? Why did you use 60 instead of 30?
Because 30 degrees was this angle,
Yeah.
and that's to the y-axis, which is not the reference angle.
But you
Reference
said-
angle always goes to x-axis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? All right. That's the end. Happy studying.